Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. And Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Mr. Paramahamsa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar Tata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar Tata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Kokti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 9th day of October, 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 2, the contents of the Gita summarized. Text number 41 on page 108. How auspicious. Okay, 108. Vyavasayatmaka buddhir ekeha Kurunandana Bahushaka Yanantash Cha Buddhayo Avnyavasayinam Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana Bahushaka Yanantascha Buddhayo Vyavasayinam Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana Bahushaka Yanantascha Buddhayo Vyavasayinam Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana Bahushakaya Nantascha Buddhayo Vyavasayinam. Go ahead, Krishna. Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana Bahushakaya Nantascha Buddhayo Vyavasayinam Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana Bahushakaya Nantascha Buddhayo Vyavasayinam. And another? Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana Bahushakaya Nantascha Buddhayo Vyavasayinam. Anyone online? Chad, you there?
Vyavasayatmaki.
Okay, here. Listen, let's do that one word. Vyavasayatmaka. Go ahead, Chad.
Vyavasyatmaka.
Yeah, Buddhi.
Vyavasatmaka Buddhir.
Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi
Eka Kuru Nandana
Ekeha Kurunandana
Bahushaka Hyantascha
Bahushaka Hyanantascha
Buddho Vyavasyanam
Buddhayo Vyavasayinam. Word by words. Vyavasaya Atmika, resolute in Krishna consciousness. Buddhi, intelligence. Eka, only one. Iha, in this world. Kurunandana, O beloved child of the Kurus. Bahushakaha, having various branches. He, indeed, Anantaha, unlimited. Cha, also. Buddhayaha, intelligence. Avnyavasayinam, of those who are not in Krishna consciousness. Translation. Krishna says to Arjuna, those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Purport. A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyavasayatmaka intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 2262, states, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudridha Nishchoy Krishna Bhakti Korle Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the arrangements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva, or Krishna, is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches, so by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practiced under the able guidance of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers for the spiritual master as follows. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutopi dhyayan stuvang tatsya yashastri sandhyam bande guru shri charanarvindam. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day, and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body. Not theoretically, but practically, when there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, this is a very important part of the Bhagavad Gita. Going back to text number 40, one of my favorite texts in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is encouraging us here. Neha birkamanashosti pratyabhayo navidyate svopamapya sadharmasa trayate mahato bhayat. In this endeavor, Krishna consciousness, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most fearful type of danger. That's the way it's going to read, hopefully, from now on. That's how Prabhupada always explained this verse. So what does that mean? It means that, just contrast that with material endeavor. Now everybody, not even just human beings, everyone is working to try to survive in this material world. You have to somehow get some shelter, you need to get some food, you need to get a mate, and go on like that, whether you're animal, human being, or whatever. And so that takes great effort. It takes, oftentimes, people living paycheck to paycheck, and that's all they can do is just try to hold it all together materially, isn't it? But ultimately, it's a tragic loss of the human form of life, if that's your whole focus, simply material things. You know, the default in being born into this world is to be in the bodily concept of life, to be materially conditioned. That's what it just comes with the territory. Meaning simply, you know, ordinary consciousness. Yeah, I'm an American. I'm such an age, such a gender, such a socioeconomic strata, and this is, you know, I've got a chance to do this, and you go there and you hope to succeed in this way, and it's all material, either gross or subtle. We shouldn't think that material just means things that you can touch and feel and weigh. Most of it is in the mind. Your sense of satisfaction, your sense of safety, fear, all of that is subtle, but it's reality. It's total reality. And people, we act on the basis of those emotions and those impetuses when we're in what we call the modes of nature, when we have no spiritual standing. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says in the verse we studied today that it all depends on knowledge, the knowledge that we've just been reading in this second chapter, which is that we're not the body. That's the first lesson. Dehinosmin yatadehi komaram yovaranjanai. Krishna gives a wonderful example that anyone can understand if you just think about it. If we just review our life up to this point, right, we can remember not everything, but certain high points, right, and ages. I mean, I can go back. I sometimes say, what's the first thing I remember? I think I was riding on a tricycle somewhere, and I was going pretty fast. You know, I don't know why that's a high point, but I was maybe my first bike. You know, and there are various other things you can remember. But so you go through your life. Okay, I can remember when I was 5, 6, 7, and then this happened. Oh boy, I had that friend. That was a great time. And then there was a danger. Oh, my uncle died. You know, whatever. You know, this review. So we all have that history. And if we contemplate, you know, and we can see, obviously, that children are born and and you see them and they're growing up. Sometimes they grow really fast. Like Gaur Kesava's kids, every time I see them, they have been going up, right? And they're developing so nicely, intelligent, you know. So we've all been through that. We've been 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, maybe, you know, not, some of us haven't gotten that far. But the body's constantly changing. The mind is certainly changing. You get an education, that's what it means, right, to increase your knowledge. So the mind is changing, the body is changing. What isn't changing? Why is it still you? Why do you still have the same name and still feel you're the same person? And so Krishna explains, it's the unchanging soul, the jiva, the atma, the self, that is animating the body. The soul is in the heart, and the consciousness moves throughout the body. Wherever there's blood circulation, there's feeling, right? That's why you can clip your fingernails or your hair and there's no pain. There's no blood circulating. But you get a little too close, ouch, ouch, right? So there's consciousness there. So that's who we are. We are that consciousness. And we've been through so many other bodies. Some of them that we learn, you know, it's scary, you know, subhuman bodies. Maybe some superhuman bodies. We may have been up in heaven for a while, you know. But whatever it is, the body is composed of these basic elements, which we're so familiar with. Krishna names them in the 7th chapter. Bhuma, Apo, Anano, Vayu, Kung. These are the 5 gross elements in progressively subtle order. The first is the earth, solid matter. It's all around us. And then there's liquids, mostly water. Right? Fire, earth, water, fire, that's, you know, the electricity counts as fire. How the electricity come? They're burning something, fossil fuel of some kind, right, at this point. And that boils water, does a turbine, makes, you know, it's the whole thing, makes electricity. So there's electricity, there's a sun, and then there's earth, water, fire, air, and in ether, this is space where everything is, you know. And think about it, that's what we're surrounded with, varieties of that, and that includes our body. All of these things are inanimate, but we're animate. What makes our particular combination of earth, water, fire, air, ether, and then the subtle mind, intelligence, ego, why is that alive? Because we're inside. We, the soul, it's the atma, the self, is inside animating. We've been given that, and because that's what we know. We identify with the outer thing, and the subtle also, the mind and the body, that's who I am. But that's not who you are. It's like, it probably compares it to, I took my sweatshirt off, you still got your sweatshirt on. So I had the sweatshirt is my outer body, and the shirt is my subtle body. But neither of them is me, right? I mean, in this sense, the body itself is actually me. But the body is nothing but a covering of the soul, and it's constantly changing. So what's the destiny of all of this? What is it? Dust thou art, dust thou beest, right? Or dust thou be it. In other words, it's just dust, and then eventually it dies. Means that the soul, it cannot be sustained because it's a complicated machine. It's an incredible machine, but like all machines, it breaks down eventually. And then you go on to another one. You don't die. Nobody dies. Nobody's born and no one dies. It's a big illusion. No more than when you take your shirt and your coat off and you're dead. No, it's just an old shirt, an old coat, I'll get a new one. You know? But so this is the basic principle. Now that should change everything. What's important now? What is our best interest? having that understanding. Well, we should want to try to, first of all, get out of this prison house of birth, growth, old age, decline, death, start again, birth, old age. We've been going around and around in this wheel of samsara for countless times. And we haven't really achieved anything. We think we're achieving, but it's all temporary because time is taking it all away. Krishna has a wonderful verse in the 10th chapter. He's identifying with so many things, bodies of water on the ocean, the most amazing, And mrityu sarvaharas charmam. As death, I take everything away. The atheists don't believe in God. There's no God out there. But they got to believe in death. Death is all powerful. It takes everything you have away. It's more powerful than you can possibly. So, but what doesn't it take away? That's what this verse is about. Death does not take away your spiritual assets. If you make a little advancement in Krishna consciousness, and advancement means progression toward awareness of the truth. I'm a soul, and God is a pure soul. I'm part and parcel of God. That's where I should put my attention and my service and my aspirations. Not in trying to make a permanent solution here, which we can never do. Whatever efforts you make on the material side, it's all just futile, because it comes to an end. You wasted your time. So that's what these verses are about. Try to make a little advancement in this path, and it can never be lost. You're protected from the greatest danger. Greatest danger is losing the human form. Acting so much like an animal that you become an animal. Now, it's not for permanent. You gradually come back up to the human form. But why should we postpone this, We want to try to achieve the perfection as quickly as possible. So that takes determination. And Prabhupada quotes this wonderful verse. What's the foundation of the whole thing? Faith. And why is that? Because we can't really see with our present senses. We can't see God. We can't see the Spirit. So how do we know about this stuff? And that's where the role of the realized soul comes in. That's what the Prabhupada is talking about. And he quotes this very important verse from the Mangal Artik song that we sing. It's called the Guru Ashtaka. It becomes the Guru Ashtaka when you do. And this is the last verse and the most important of them, I would say. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasada. What is prasad? Because we all know prasadam, right? Prasadam is the grace of God, often in the form of food. But it's also in the form of blessings. What is Krishna's blessing? When he helps you to become detached from this world and attached to him. When he sends his representative to help us. Prabhupada was a personified blessing. He himself was prasad. That he undertook this incredible adventure and task of coming to the West in his old age with no money. Can anyone imagine getting on a boat with $7, going to a place where you don't have any connections, not knowing what's going to happen? You're 69 years old. He had 2 heart attacks on the way, and he says in his journal, if I had another one, it would be all finished. So he's asleep, and Krishna comes to him in a dream. He says, "No, don't worry. I'm going to take charge of the boat now. Everything's going to be all right." And when he was in Radha Damodar, he had a vision of Rupa Goswami. He's sitting there next to Rupa Goswami's tomb. This is what the Samadhi tomb is. Very holy place. I've been there. It's incredible. And so he's writing his books and he's chanting and he's planning to go. And Rupa Goswami says, "Don't worry. You write the books, and everything will be fine." Great effort. Wrote these 3 books, which consisted of the first canto of the 10th of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and great effort. He got them published, and then he had his ammunition. He could come to the West, and it was an incredible story. You read the Prabhupada Lilamrita. It's just so inspiring. So he was sent. He was sent by his own spiritual master, and he was sent by Krishna to help us. Out of pure mercy, compassion, that's why he came. And he stayed, even though it became very difficult. It was the winter. I mean, when Prabhupada came, the same month he came to New York, I left New York. I went to Chicago for my little stint in the University of Chicago. But I read in the newspaper, huge blackout in New York State. The whole state practically was in a blackout. It had never happened before, you know. And Prabhupada was, you know, of course it happens in Calcutta all the time, so he wasn't so shocked. He just started chanting, chanting in his room, you know, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But that, you know, he had to go through that and so many things. So he had this Vyavasayatmaka Buddha here. This verse and purport, you know, commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti, very much inspired Prabhupada. That to make the orders of the spiritual master one with your heart, which we sing every morning. Those are the second song we sing to the Guru. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, Chitate Kodaya Aikya, Arna Kodaya Monayasha. This is Bengali. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya means from the lotus mouth of the Guru are coming the words, which are nothing but the words of Krishna, given to us in a language and in a way that we can understand. Make them one with your heart. In other words, accept them and don't get confused by all kinds of other instruction. That's the best thing for us. And then you take that order, just like these wonderful book distributors. Bhagavati Prabhu, who's a legendary book distributor, he joined at the same time I did. We went to the same yoga studio before joining. New Yorker. He's the top book distributor in the world, and he's my age. There's only like 5 or 6 old timers going out now, you know, Prabhupada disciples. I'm telling you, he's one of them. So he called me and he had some question about the books and everything. I was talking to him, but he described how, you know, when it gets tough out there, you know, he has the prayers of the Goswamis printed out, you know, and he chants them. He holds them to his heart. He prays that they give him energy, you know, and he says it works every time. And we have Vijay here, who does incredible, but Vigapati is even distributing more books than Vijay. Legendary figure. So the whole idea is to get that determination to overcome the difficulties in devotional service, because we're so conditioned. Conditioned means habituated to being on the material platform, to thinking in terms of the senses and in terms of our own mind, rather than to identifying with ourselves as servants of Krishna, and how can we advance and how can we become Krishna conscious. So this is a wonderful section here that we're reading. And okay, I'll leave it at that. Any questions on this verse? Purport. It's worth studying. Because it takes, everyone knows, it takes determination. There's always another hurdle to cover, you know, before we become pure devotees. But it's a joyful and meaningful struggle. All right. Yes, Prabhu.
On the subject matter of faith, I've heard some aspiring, you know, spiritual seekers or whatever, you know, that they need to have some kind of miraculous event or mystical event in order to have faith. I mean, what would you say to somebody that's, you know, wanting to be inspired, seeking for a source of faith in the holy names or Krishna or whatever it is? How can somebody, you know, grow in faith?
Well, you can grow in faith. The way that you get faith is by associating with the faithful, and hearing, you know, like the, you know, Prabhupada's story. So many devotees have incredible accounts of how they came to Krishna consciousness, and what really gives you faith, if you just suspend your disbelief, you know, and you say, well, everyone's chanting Hare Krishna. Well, let me try it. You know, I mean, that's not going to hurt. You know, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And if you try it seriously and you try to concentrate and you participate, then the miracle will happen in your own heart. You'll feel relief. You'll feel more calm. You know, whatever distressing you, you can get. You know, you can get. It's a panacea. It's a wonderful. You know, that's the first installment. And you can also feel that, I mean, this is one of the main things that I remember, so many attachments, you know, that are holding you down. It could be something unwholesome or whatever, some relationship, you know, whatever. And you can feel it slackening. I'm not so interested in that anymore. I don't need that, you know. You want to get high? I got some nice shlokas for you, you know. I would just, I mean, we've been given these exquisite vibrations. Rupa Goswami. You know, each one of those lines, it's in the book called the Viradavali, is a description about Krishna. And you can feel the potency and the belief. And of course, the best of all is the Hare Krishna mantra. But so many, the beauty of the deities, the prasadam, the wonderful excitement of the festivals, you can just be caught up and realize that, and it's free, I mean, it's not expensive, it's not a big deal, And so that can give you faith, just the experience of being with devotees and Harinam or something, suspend your disbelief, like, oh, I'll try it, we'll see how it goes, And if you're sincere, then Krishna will give you a taste. He will say, oh, okay, this is interesting. And especially the books. When you read from Prabhupada's books, they can just, strike a chord, and really say, yeah, this sounds like something, let me give it a try. That's the best I can do. Or you can read like Vijay's book. It's full of miracles of book distribution. And you can see the wonderful experiences that happen to more or less ordinary people like us. Yeah. All right, let's go on. So, okay. 42-43. Yamimam pushpitam bacham prabhadanta vipashchitaha vedavada partha Nanyan astiti vadinaha kamatmanak swargapara janma karma palapradham kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishaya gatim pati. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. So this is the famous Karma Kanda section that Prabhupada will explain, the Vedas. Purport. People in general are not very intelligent, and due to their ignorance, they are most attached to the fruitive activities recommended in the Karma Kanda portions of the Vedas. They do not want anything more than sense gratificatory proposal for enjoying life in heaven, where wine and women are available and material opulence is very common. In the Vedas, many sacrifices are recommended for elevation to the heavenly planets, especially the Jyotishtoma sacrifices. In fact, it is stated that anyone desiring elevation to heavenly planets must perform these sacrifices, and men with a poor fund of knowledge think that this is the whole purpose of Vedic wisdom. It is very difficult for such inexperienced persons to be situated in the determined action of Krishna consciousness. As fools are attached to the flowers of poisonous trees without knowing the results of such attractions, unenlightened men are similarly attracted by such heavenly opulence and the sense enjoyment thereof. In the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, it is said, Apama somam amrita abhuma and akshayam havai chatumasya yajinaha sukatam bhavati. In other words, those who perform the 4-month penances become eligible to drink the somaras beverages to become immortal and happy forever. Even on this earth, some are very eager to have the 4-month penances are just the chaturmasya, which we're in the middle of right now. What's going on? Oh, he needs to talk to her? Okay. Hare Krishna. Yeah. What's going on? You got something to do too? Okay. Hare Rama. Okay, 4-month penances become eligible to drink the somaras beverages to become immortal and happy forever. Even on this earth, some are very eager to have somaras to become strong and fit to enjoy sense gratification. Such persons have no faith in liberation from material bondage, and they are very much attached to the pompous ceremonies of Vedic sacrifices. They are generally sensual, and they do not want anything other than the heavenly pleasures of life. It is understood that there are gardens called Nandanakanana in which there is good opportunity for association with angelic, beautiful women and having a profuse supply of somaras wine. Such bodily happiness is certainly sensual. Therefore, there are those who are purely attached to such material, temporary happiness as lords of the material world. So Krishna's, he's covering all the bases here in like summary. So this is a great distraction. And then there's also the yogic siddhis that you can get. I mean, it's the Vedic culture is full of all of this esoteric knowledge, by which you can go to heavenly planets and enjoy for thousands of years. He describes this in several places in the Bhagavad Gita. So these are things that tempt us to go for the bhoga side of things. Bhoga means I'm going to enjoy, right? This is like, oh, I had no idea. We could go to heaven and enjoy for millions of years and drink the soma ras and, oh boy, let's do it. But that's not the way to go. That's a fool's errand, as Krishna will say. Atetam bhuktva swagalokam bishadam chine punye manchalokam bishanti. He speaks of this in the 9th chapter, I believe, yeah. That some worship me indirectly. Trividya mam. The Trividya means the 3 Vedas, which include these Karmakanda sections of the Vedas. Somapa, here's the Somaras. Puta papa yagdishvasva svargatim pratayante. What they're looking for is to go to the higher goal, Svargaloka, is heaven. And some of them are able to achieve it. And then he mentioned in the next word, Tetam, those who get up there, Tetam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam, they enjoy like anything. Live for a long time, in good health, young body, you can enjoy all kinds of sense gratification. Not worry, go on. But then, chine punye, when your pious credits are finished, it's almost like a big credit card, Put the credit card in. Sorry, down you go. Krishna said, Chine punye marchi lokam vishante. They come down to not to this earthly planet, they come down to this world of death, marchi loka. And so what's the use? Evam tahi dhamma munapun gatagatam kama kama labante. By following these 3 Vedas of the Karmakanda, you just go and come. You just wasted a whole bunch of time not practicing Krishna consciousness. And we get a little bit of an inkling of this with Indra. Indra's the master of the 3 worlds, And he's a servant. I mean, he's got an important job. He takes care of the weather. He regulates the rain, all of these different things. He's important to the management of the universe. He's a devotee. But he's a sakama devotee. Means that he has all kinds of material desires. And sometimes they get the better of him. That's why this temple here. He completely lost it. Oh, they've been offering this sacrifice to me. Now they're not offering. They took the advice of that young boy there, that foolish kid. He didn't recognize Krishna as his Lord, And so I'll show them, and he calls the clouds that are only released at devastation time, they're so powerful, and pour down hail and rain, hail big as basketballs coming down, and the rain and the wind, we just had examples of how weather can get so horrific, And so that's, he was trying to destroy everybody, kill the whole, he completely lost it. So Krishna, he famously lifted the hill with one pinky and said, everyone come under, and, and so they were saved. So finally Indra came to his senses. Oh, what have I done? This is my Lord, So this is typical Indra. He said, oh, I'm so sorry. He comes down in a secluded place so he wouldn't be embarrassed, and he offers his prayers. And Surabhi comes from. It's not Goloka she comes from. She comes from a special planet of cows, Surabhi Lokam. Yeah, and she came down. She did an abhishek, And so sorry. But then he does it again. We just saw in the 6th canto. He cuts off the heads of his guru, So this is the problem. When you have so much facility for enjoyment, then you easily get enticed into it again, and you lose your focus in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness, you can't get away from it. It's built on vairagya and vidya, knowledge and detachment. And they go together. By knowing the dangers of material sense gratification, by hearing from authority of what the destiny of one who's, the hellish planets. But that knowledge, okay, let's cool it out. But that's not enough. You have to have something to attract you away from it, and that's where Krishna comes in. Krishna consciousness can completely destroy your desire for material sense gratification. And then you can really become fixed. Then you become fixed. Just like our old friend Yamunacharya. Prabhupada quotes this verse twice in the Gītā. There's a long story about him I won't tell, but he was a great, wonderful student of bhakti. And he won this debate against the king's court pundit. And the king had promised half the kingdom if he got it. So if he could defeat him. And he had some trick questions, I forget the details, but it's very clever. And so suddenly he's a king. He's got the half of this kingdom. And so he gets involved and entangled in that, And then later on, one of his old buddies from the ashram comes by and visits. Oh, welcome, welcome. And so I said, let's take a walk. And as they're taking a walk, he's reminding him of all kinds of verses, that they used to relish in the ashram. And Yamunacharya is getting into it, and he just keeps walking. He just gives up the whole kingdom, and he becomes Yamunacharya, the spiritual master of Ramanujacharya, and he writes this beautiful book called the Stotra Ratna. Probably would quote at least one verse, very famous verse from there. I think it's in the CC also. Bhavantamevanuchadandarantarak prashantaniksheshamanodathantarak kadahamaikantikaniktikinkara paharshayasyami sanata jivitam. It's a beautiful verse. My dear Lord, Bhavantamevanuchadan narantara. When will I be able to practice devotion to you without break, without any interruption? And Bhavantam evanuchanandana prashanta nikshesa manodata. And the manorata, the chariot of the mind, which is always going here and there, dreaming up different sense gratification, prashanta, will become completely peaceful, and satisfied. Kadaham, when? Kadaham aikantika nitya kinkara, will I be satisfied in being your unalloyed devotee without interruption? Paharshiyasami, be very joyful and exuberant. Paharshiyasami sanata jivitam, just to live with a wonderful master like you, to be satisfied in Krishna consciousness. So it's a beautiful prayer. So Yamunacharya has this prayer in which he's recalling, his life as a king, with the harem and everything. So he says, Yadabadi mamacheta Krishna padadavinde nabanamana sadhama nuditam rantum asit tadabadi badanari sangame smayamane bhavati mukhavikaro sustunishti vanangsha. And Prabhupada says, I spite on it. He does this charming little pronunciation. So what he's saying there is that ever since I've been enjoying ever new moment-to-moment pleasure serving the lotus feet of Krishna, then ever since that tadabadi badanadi sangame sma, whenever the memory comes, because sometimes memories just come into your head, of my, with my harem, I said, bhavati mukhavakaro sushchanisti. I'm not attracted by it, I'm just disgusted. I spit at the thought. It's not like, it has to be, like we have to be careful. Don't look, and don't walk by the bar. We had this program of honoring this one lady who was a friend of the temple. She, it's the whole thing. Last Saturday, there was a big crowd here, and so her son was there. He was one of the organizers. I was in touch with him because I had done a whole bunch of programs in the '90s at her place in Encinitas. We gathered there, and I would ding the tambour, and anyway. So anyway, there was a lot of people who knew her. Ishtadev was one of them. He was here. And then afterward, we had the prasadam. Saul cooked up this wonderful feast. She had made the menu of her favorite preps, and he was able to make kafta balls and they all liked the prasadam. So then when it was winding down, I didn't say anything, but I was a little bit shocked, because Noah, he knows the principles. He's kind of a devotee, That was her main son, who was here. And it says, so Noah, you're going to go with us to get a drink? Get a drink. I didn't say, I said, yeah, there's a bar down the corner, All right, what am I going to do? They weren't really devotees, Here were people who, they were attracted, to lifestyle, this and that, to one degree or another. And there were a few actually initiated devotees in the group. I didn't know who they were. But I said, yeah, that's it, That's the thing what people do. They relax and go to the bar, get a drink, Not me. I'll never go to There's absolutely no desire, It's just like, oh, are you kidding me? Let's open the Bhagavad Gita, let's chant some verses, And the thing is, there's no downside. It's not like, oh yeah, I chanted too many shlokas yesterday. I have to take, no. Let's have some more. So that's and then the next verse is okay. We have time for the next verse. This is really yeah. Go ahead.
Always a wonderful lecture from you. So I had been asked before about, if one attains like the heavenly planets, and are we able to practice Krishna consciousness? And I told this person that, the human form is like the most auspicious form because that we can actually like practice renunciation and bhakti yoga, whereas if we attain these higher planets, and like it's describing here, like we'll be in so much sense pleasure, we won't really have the incentive to so we won't be suffering, because suffering is what is that's austere.
Impetus.
So if you can just go a little bit into that, and I mean
totally. I mean that's in the Shastra, is that this planet is auspicious for practicing devotional service precisely because there's so many difficulties. You can see them. If you get up in the heavenly planets, it's easy to just get, what's the rush? What's the urgency? Let's just enjoy a little nut in the gardens a little, In other words, the fact that there are difficulties here, and we can see them, we experience them, is a great impetus for practicing devotional service. That's why Krishna, says, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Nidarshanam. He has a whole list of elements of knowledge, really nice in the 13th chapter. I think 8 to 11. And one of them is to always be aware, to keep it in the front, not at every moment, but to be, of birth, old age, disease, and death. It's called the evils. And Vijay wants me to change that word. No, it's not evil. It's not evil. But it is, if you look it up. Evil doesn't just mean, nasty and demonic. It means something that causes distress. That can also be an evil. And so that's an inevitable concomitant of life in this material world, whether it's Satya Yuga or whatever, on the heavenly planets. What happened when Hiranyakashipu performed all these austerities, and he gets the darshan of Brahma, and he asks him, he addresses him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but that he wasn't. But he wanted to get liberation. He wanted to get eternal life, immortality. So Brahma says, I'm not immortal. How can I give you immortality? So he tries to outwit Brahma, Said, okay, well, let me not die in the day or the night, on air or water or on the earth, or by any of your created beings, like he thinks he has everything covered. But he doesn't. And Lord Krishna appears at Nrsingadev. He is in the evening. It's not day or night. It's not inside or outside. He's on the threshold. He's not killed by any weapon. He's killed by the nails. Nails are on. So he dies. So that's the material energy. You can't. You try to make so many arrangements, but it doesn't help. But if you're aware that these, like Kunti says, these difficulties are good for us because they mean that we have to call out to Krishna in helplessness. And that's all auspicious. That's how we should chant, because we're living moment to moment here. It could be an earthquake, a huge tsunami, and here we are. We got 3 minutes to live, if that.
It's a war right now. Also.
What is that?
Israel. It's
the
a war.
Right? The war. How many wars? There's at least one. There's 2 wars. Yeah. I mean. We have to, really be serious and understand that. But that's good for us to realize there's no hope, and that's exactly what the next verse is about.
So one last thing.
Okay.
So the first thing that came to mind, and I think other people have asked me as well, can we use like what was it talking about the different karmakanda, right? Like, can we use these types of like different yogas and like different practices, different austerities, different stuff like sacrifices? Can we use this in tangent or simultaneously with bhakti yoga to I don't know, ascend faster or something like this.
No.
I'm sure.
No, we've been given the best means. The way we use them is by studying how Krishna, talks about them and discards them. He says those who are fools, really, abhipashtita, not very knowledge, they say that the real essence of the Vedas is the karma kanda. And they get tangled up in that. Learn this shloka. I mean, the verses that just describe how you can get to those heavenly planets and what's on the heavenly planets. We don't want to even be attracted, read about them so much. All right, they're up there, but they don't compare at all to Goloka Vrindavan. Nothing compares. Even the Brahmananda, which is even greater than being on the heavenly planet, this bliss of being in Brahman, that's like a drop of water compared to Premananda. So we should really have faith that go for the highest program. And Krishna will say in the next verse, this is the difficulty. I just want to read this one because it's so important, and we can maybe read it again tomorrow. Bhogaishvaya prasaktanam taya parita chetasam vyavasayatmaka buddhi samadho navadhiyate. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Purport. Samadhi means fixed mind. In the Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti says, Samyag adhiyate smin atma tattva yatatmyam. When the mind is fixed for understanding the self, it is said to be in samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for persons interested in material sense enjoyments and bewildered by such temporary things. They are more or less condemned by the process of material energy. So this is really the battle that we have. It's all in the mind. The mind, we're so conditioned and so used to enjoying this and this, and aspiring for this, that oftentimes, the idea of Krishna consciousness just doesn't take hold. It's like, I don't even want to know about it. It's just another crazy thing, There's so much disinformation, misinformation out there, When actually this is the way in which you can really awaken your actual potentiality of real enjoyment. The Reservoir of Pleasure, that Reservoir of Pleasure pamphlet, I don't know if you've ever seen that. We distributed millions of those. It's based on a lecture that Prabhupada gave, I think, in 26 Second Avenue. And he talks about the name. It begins about the name of Krishna. It's so attractive, And it's very helpful to read some of the descriptions of how the acharyas relish the holy name. Because this is, with their pure devotion and pure love, they're experiencing something that, we can only hope for at one point. We're also chanting the mantra, but we're not tasting it like that. But the very same mantra that we're chanting can become so full of bliss, that we don't want to do anything else. That you're just completely satisfied just hearing and chanting that wonderful name. So that's because we're covered bhogaishvaya prasaktanam through many lifetimes of being focused on bhoga and aishvarya, enjoyment and wealth that buys the enjoyment, And tie up with and your consciousness is bewildered by such things, then this determination doesn't take place. That's the problem. And let's be honest, this movement is quite a bit over 50 years old now. And many of my contemporaries and disciples who you see in the old movies and you read about them in the old books, they were such staunch devotees, but somehow they got into the Bhogaishvarya. Because along with the influence and rising and having so much responsibility, you're dealing with so many women and money, and things, and it can be scary. The strength comes from the kirtan. And you look, the whole movement was based on kirtan. I went out, we had 3 hours a day when I joined, it was great, it was fantastic. And you become spiritually strong that way. But then as time goes on, that's not your duty, you're distracted, you're not getting so much kirtan, even the programs, and you become weaker. And then you're in a big position of responsibility, and your spiritual strength is not weakening. So it's that we should be very strict in doing performing the regular activities of kirtan, and if we can come in the early morning, that's so auspicious, to keep ourselves strong so that when the allurements come, we can say, no, I'm chanting Hare Krishna. I'm satisfied. Thank you. All right. We don't have much time, but I brought this because I have such a couple of poems, and instead of just trying to drag my mind. Okay, here's one that you haven't heard for a while. This is Rupa Goswami. He's comparing himself to the Chataka bird. Virachaya mai dandam dina bando dayangba gatadihina babotta kachadam nyamamasti nipatata shatakote nirmalang bangdabangbas tadapakila bihorak stuyate chatakena. The Chataka subsists on rain it catches in midair, and so it's always praying to the cloud to send its fare. Yet though that cloud may send a thunderbolt instead of rain, that bird continues praying fervently despite the pain. Just like the Chataka, I fix my mind upon one goal, and that is you, O Lord, most kind to every fallen soul. So whether it is punishment you send, or mercy sweet, I'll always pray to you for service to your lotus feet. And that's Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi, right there. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.